There's 4 keys to building a big speaking business that I want to share with you. And the first one up there is you need to become a little bit famous. And let me just state this right away. I am not famous. I am not a household word. I am not even a household word in my own household, just to put that in perspective. But when I talk about famous, there's a number of things you can do. It's the books, it's the articles, it's getting on television. And just to give you an example, I have one of our vendors over here. I don't know if anybody's met Mitch. This is an unpaid announcement, but I've been a member of Broadcast Interview Source for about 7 or 8 years, and I've got lots and lots and lots of interviews, everything from the CBS Evening News, national spokesperson rules, and I actually was surprised. I told this Mitch the other day. I actually got a speaking job with it, which was not supposed to, I don't think was one of the things that came with it, but you may want to see him later on those types of things. And the thing I want to stress about this, too, is the little bit of fame that you have. What we were talking about, Alan Weiss was talking about, Dick was talking about it, is you got to be different, and you got to be unique, and that's what happens. And just to give you an example of this, a number of years ago, I remember I was on like the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather, and it was pretty cool. And what happened was somebody from Washington, I live in the Washington, D.C. area. Somebody from Washington, D.C. came, and they saw the TV thing, and they called me right up and said, hey, we saw you on the CBS Evening News. We'd like to see about you doing some work for us. So I went down. This was an unnamed government agency. I won't mention the name of it, but I go into this agency. I walk right in there, and you know what? Here it is. There's like the director of the whole agency. He's got 20 of his staff there waiting for you to come in because you're the what? You're the celebrity there. So I'm walking in, they're all greeting me, and then we sit down, and you know how many of you do? You bring all your piles of junk that you have to show everybody. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And how great you are and all that stuff. They didn't care about that at all. They said, we want to hire you. That was it. They want to hire you. And you know what they said? They said, and here's the price we're going to pay you. This is what we pay our vendors. And I said, well, excuse me, but you know my price is a little higher. And they hemmed and hawed and went along like this. And then finally, just to tell you the value of being on like the CBS Evening News or something like that, one of the guys, you know, the assistant went to the boss and he just whispered in the ears. He says, he just looked at him, he whispered, he said, look, he's on the CBS News, just pay him what he wants. You know, and it was like, and the point of this is how do you become an expert, by the way? Just say you are. Just get into Mitch's book and say you are. I mean, and I hate to say this, so that the people have called me up for interviews, and how many of you in the media? Anybody in the media in here? They need stories. By the way, they need you as much as you need them. And I hate to say this, out of about 200 interviews or so, I've had not one person, and this is scary, not one person has ever asked me why I'm an expert. You know what they do? If you're not available, they just go to what? They go to the next person on the list, and they go down and down. So, you know, when they call, you get there. But the value of that is something. So the first thing is become a little bit famous, and I'll talk some more as we get along on how to do that. I want to get some more specifics. Marketing, marketing, marketing. And I'm a big proponent of that. The whole thing really boils down to the marketing yourself really well. And I'm not talking about knocking on doors. I'm talking about referrals. I'm talking about staying in touch with your clients. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that here in a minute. Third thing is build relationships and contacts. And when we talk about relationships, 3 things I just want you to keep remembering. 3 things to remember. And I'm just going to go slowly by this because I don't think this may be in your handout actually. But the first thing I want you to remember is you're not just closing a sale, you're opening a relationship. You're not just closing a sale, you're opening a relationship. Number 2, people buy who you are, not what you do. People buy who you are, not what you do. People buy who you are. The only reason I'm saying that is I forgot what I was going to say next. You ever have that happen to you? You know, you forget what you say, so you keep repeating it 18 times. Well, that's so everybody can hear it. But anyway, people buy who you are, not what you do. And you're not just selling, and the third thing is you're not just selling, you're solving problems. You're not just selling, you're solving problems. And, you know, just to put this into effect, you know how we've had those moments where we learn from people on what works and what doesn't. And I remember, how many of you ever done the skill path route, the career track? Anybody here, the career track, skill path type people? A number of years ago, I think it was 1991, there was a woman, and she's still in charge of, her name is Denise Dudley. She's in charge of Skill Path, which is a seminar company. And what they do is if they're interested in you, you fly out to Shawnee Mission, Kansas, and you get interviewed. So they have a group of about 15 people there. They're sitting you do a presentation, and they either like you or not. And I always remember Denise, when she came up, Anybody know her, by the way? Denise Dudley? Denise Dudley? Anyway, when she came up to you, this is how she meets. I just get off the plane. You know, I'm real happy I'm sort of nervous, excited to be there. And she does this. The first thing I ever had from this woman, she looked right into my face. I mean, got really close to me, and she says, you know, Arnold, I only deal with people I really like. So immediately I'm thinking, man, I got to take the bus back now, and I'm not going to get round trip airfare. But anyway, but the point was, she told me, she says, I'd rather, and this is something I always remember, I'd rather have a speaker who is a good speaker and connects, and here's the word, and connects with the audience versus one who's a great speaker and does not connect. And we're going to get into a little bit about what that is. Because the bottom line is people deal with you because they what? Because they like you and they trust you. And by the way, on the fact of trust, let me just say something on this one too. This is on the relationships and contacts. I work with a number of speakers bureaus, and speakers bureaus, every time I've gone to meetings with them, guess what the number one thing they look for when they're looking at speakers a lot of times is, do they trust them? You know, a lot of times people go around them, they do things. You know, you got to be a good speaker, but there's a lot of good speakers out there, and that trust thing comes in really well. And I'll tell you, for those of you just beginning, how to get some speaker bureau opportunities here, you know, in a minute. And the fourth thing, keys to building a big dollar presentation, is deliver a great presentation. Deliver a great presentation. And you're only as good as your last presentation. And one of the things I keep hearing is, what are the three things? I keep hearing this over and over and over from three things that people usually want when you do your keynotes and stuff like that. And I hear this a lot of times from the Fortune 500 companies I work from and CEOs and stuff. They said, we want three things from you. And you might want to remember this, just to keep in mind. They're looking for a session to be interactive. They said, we want content. And the third thing is, we want fun. And I had a guy, I won't mention the name, the other day, he says, he says, if you have to fudge on anything, fudge on the content and the interactivity and keep it fun. So I mean, more and more people are looking for that aspect of it as you're going along. So those are some things to be thinking about. And then also, so 4 keys to building a big relationship. Now, going on from here, your best clients, I'm a big factor, your best clients are your current clients. This is where you're going to get your business. You know what? Because people already what? They already like you. They trust you. They all want to deal with you. And I always like this, rather have 100 good clients than 1,000 prospects. Rather have 100 good clients, because what are you going to do with those 100 good clients? You're going to upsell, resell, and get referrals from those people as you're going along. Also, reward your clients. And by the way, I'm not talking about a Jack Abramoff thing, type under the table, or anything like that. But when I talk about rewarding your clients, reward them not just with, you know, helping them out, but personally. And let me give you an example of how you can help somebody personally. Number of years ago, I did something for this, I'll mention, Security Alarm Dealers Association, and we were in Las Vegas. And every year they hired a keynote speaker, and every year they hired great speakers. I mean, these speakers were really good. And you know what the person who was the CEO of the association said? He says, you know what, Arnold, we never hire the same speaker twice. He says, I don't care how good you are, we're never going to hire the same person twice again. That's just the way we are. And I said, fine. But one day after the meeting, everything went well. I had lunch with the CEO of the company, and I said, let me find out a little about you. I sort of did a Dick Russo thing on him. I didn't take the chart and go down the whole list, but I found out this guy was actually one of the founders of National Speakers Association. He was a professional speaker, and he had CSP, had all this other good stuff, but he was like making $1 zillion, and he said, I just like to do 1 or 2 speeches a year. And he came up to me, and I said, okay, fine. And so what I did is I spent all my effort in the next couple weeks trying to find him, believe it or not, a speech. And I actually connected him with a speech in North Carolina. I put the two together. I brought everybody together, and I put them together, and he got the job. And he was so excited. You know what he did? He wrote back to me, and he says, you know what? I've never hired anybody twice before. I've never hired anybody back before, but I want to hire you again, and I want to give you a blank check. First of all, never give a speaker a blank check. That is a dangerous move. But he says, and I want to give you a blank check. And let me ask you this. Did he hire me because I was good? Oh, if you're going, no. You don't have to be that Adam. Look at all these people going, no, you're not good at all. So you're just a you see, look at this. This is terrible. But anyway, some of you are so adamant at how bad I am. But anyway, we're moving on. But reward your customers. And what I was saying is, reward them personally. What can you do for them? How can you help them? You know, into those areas that are going along with that.